Beep beep.
Hello, bastard.
I've started recording, by the way.
Good.
Wonderful. I wanted to see how much longer I can keep you going making ridiculous noises. Didn't last too long.
This can be the whole recording.
I can go forever. You have to stop me.
Okay. So, after great success last time, well, for my... Yeah... What's the word? Oh my god, I forgot. We haven't even started yet and I forgot words. That is wonderful.
Technical difficulties right now.
No, this is exactly, like, you see, this is the metaphor for what we're going to talk about, which is great success, and then you try it again and lose all hope when you lose all your revenue.
For my standards! That's the word, standards. Because 600 views is pretty nice. Anyway, yeah. Seeing how I want to keep up my stream of content, but I can't do edited videos all the time because this is going to kill me and my hard drive and everything I am and be and what is my life. Anyway, I've decided we're gonna do more podcast things.
Yes, hi.
And this time we are joined like it's me, Neni Line. And
I'm here too, and I'm Triple.
Wonderful. And Randy joins us too.
Yeah, I'm here on the corner, occasionally throwing quips and stuff.
Anyway, so our topic today is something that we've been discussing a lot lately when we were talking to each other, just out of sheer frustration, mostly because it kind of affects us. Yeah, so how about those free-to-play gacha games on cell phones that tap into our deepest, innermost, attention-grabbing fanboyism for certain things? Make us pay for it.
Yeah, they are a thing, and it's a whole can of worms we're gonna open today.
We should define what a gacha game is first.
Yeah, that's probably necessary. So basically, I guess everybody who listens to something like this knows what a free-to-play game is. Basically, a game that is free to download and to, quotation marks, enjoy. But once you actually get to play it, you are greeted with all these little things that you can't do, that aren't that easy to get, that you have to work ages to do anything at. And then the game gives you a screen. Would you like to pay real money for this? Or even better, would you like to pay real money to get some of our fake money so you can spend some of your fake money on this?
It's like Monopoly if Monopoly was as exploitative as it could possibly be.
Oh yeah.
No, that seems to describe more of a paywall than what I think is in the heart of
Yeah, that's because gacha is inherently using paywalls
Well, it is.
The thing is,
sorry, continue.
No, Randy has a point. We'll get to this. There's a way to do this right. But the reason I'm bringing this topic up and the reason we're talking about this today is because of Kingdom Hearts Unchained Chi or Union Cross or whatever it calls itself these days. The game formerly known as Kingdom Hearts Chi.
Or as I like to pronounce it, KHUX. Because of the abbreviation.
Yeah. It's just basically the way that game uses it becomes a paywall, which is especially infuriating because that only is the case in the phone game version, in the North American version, but we'll get to that. I'll talk about that. For now, let's begin. What is a gacha game? Well, some of you guys out there might know about gachapon machines or gashapon machines. Sometimes you find them in the West too. They are those little capsule machines where you put in a coin and then you spin and you get one capsule, sometimes two if the machine is broken and you're really lucky. That's happened to me. It's not supposed to happen though. And inside there's like little figurines or gadgets or whatever else they can put into a little pill-shaped thing I mean, we have something similar here with Kinder Eggs, but I guess you won't know those in America, which is like most of the people watching YouTube, and because America banned those eggs for whatever reason, I don't even know. But yeah.
Some is the choking hazard, but
Probably,
yeah.
but it's
It
ridiculous.
They
doesn't
also
matter
are
if there's
expensive as shit.
It doesn't matter if there's chocolate around it or not. Honestly, the point is, you put in money and you get something out of it. What does that sound like? That sounds like gambling. And that's unfortunately a complaint that's often rightfully put against games that use this mechanic. And there's a lot of games that use this mechanic these days for virtual goods for microtransactions. And that's what we're gonna talk about today, the problems with gacha games and how we personally feel about it. So I think I've made it pretty clear already that I have... Actually, it's not clear because my opinion on the gacha mechanic is very split, because I'm a huge fan of gachapon machines. I'm just a naturally curious person. When you give me the option to get something random and I can open it up and see this random thing, I'm gonna take it. That's why I'm a 25 years old woman who still buys an advent calendar at the beginning of every December. I just can't resist this little rush of opening something up and getting something random out of it. But on the other hand, sometimes it feels like they're really putting a paywall in front of you, and it's really annoying. I don't like it when it feels like I'm being psychologically manipulated to spend money that I don't have to spend, and that doesn't actually enrich my enjoyment of a game at all. So what's your guys' opinion?
It's interesting that you make the comparison to an advent calendar. Because yeah, it's sort of similar in that you buy a calendar and you open it up piece by piece, but gacha kind of takes that a step further, because it's like you buy a calendar over and over again until you get, like, for a chance to get that golden piece of chocolate instead of just regular chocolate. That's more what it is to me.
Yeah.
Like, you get something that other people might not get, and don't you want to feel special? Like, you have a golden piece of plastic that is totally different than the regular piece of plastic.
You're hitting the nail on the head.
It's like, there's a term for this called the Skinner box effect in video game design, where it's what makes people play MMORPGs, where you complete these little tasks in the game to get arbitrary reward that enhances your character stats or something. Like, it keeps you coming back to play more and it's not even that advanced to play. You just hit a few buttons to kill an enemy in MMORPGs. You know how it goes. Yeah. And you kind of get these daily rewards. Just come back to the daily grind, sort of. Like, you want the player to come back for their pat on the head, so to speak. And it kind of feels like that. You want the player coming back so they can get these rewards, or because they might pay to get that pat on the head eventually.
It's especially frustrating when it turns out that the thing you've been spending so many goddamn jewels on is actually pretty damn underwhelming, and you'll never end up using it again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't really matter what the reward is. It's like you get something that other people might not get. Like, that's the thing.
Randy, your take on it.
Well, it's tough to say exactly, because I'm way less interested in the gacha mechanics as a whole than I am, for example, about the game itself and whether it's good independent of the gacha mechanics that it applies. I'm not saying that it's not affected by it, because obviously it is very much affected by it. But if I can enjoy it anyway, even if I have the worst of luck, for example, on the polls that I get, I think I'm fine with it. And well, that's the problem. A lot of the games are affected by it so deeply now that it's
exactly. It's an issue
impossible to enjoy them without paying for it and paying multiple times for the random chance of getting exactly what you need.
That's the thing. The problem is when it becomes a paywall, when it's just a gimmick that gives you something neat once in a while, regardless of whether you pay or not, and with your pay you just get more. That's another thing, but like if it becomes just, as you said, just a paywall that holds you back and makes the game frustrating, then it becomes really shady.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, games are expensive to make, and you know, if we're gonna talk about being exploited for money, we kinda have to talk about why they want to exploit us for money. Like, games are expensive to make. That's why they want you to, especially games that continuously get updated all the time. So they kinda need, like, most gacha games are free to start playing, and then they kinda hope that you toss them money during your time playing, and that's why in some cases you might feel justified paying for it because you wanna throw the developers some cash their way. It's less that when the publisher behind it are like a multi-billion company that can probably afford it anyway. Wow, okay? I don't know where that cough came from. You should get that checked, Neni.
Yeah, you really should.
Yeah, it's a curse, honestly. Yeah, as I said, I usually really avoid gacha games because I know my nature. I know that I am the kind of person who just wants to see what she gets, and is just happy to see new stuff pop up. But somehow Kingdom Hearts, formerly known as Chi, has managed to push me to the breaking point, I love Kingdom Hearts, and I don't dislike the basis of this game. But what they've done with it, in what they are continuing to do with it, is just, it's disgusting. Oh my god. Like, I'll get more into the details with it, but basically, I used to play the browser version. And with the browser version, I couldn't spend any money because I don't have a Japanese credit card. So I could play it, but I could really only free to play it. I could never get anything that required premium content. But I could still keep up with my party. I could still get powerful cards. Well, they were cards back then, now they're medals. Could still get powerful cards to use, could still get really neat outfits to put my character into. It's funny that you say you couldn't pay, because that's probably the exact opposite of what Square wants you to do. Yeah, I know, but the thing is, I would have been happy to pay for like 1 or 2 premium boxes there, because I felt the game was funny either way. It would have felt more like justified DLC to me. But now with the phone game, where I actually can pay because it's actually from my region, I feel like I wouldn't be able to play it if I didn't pay. Because every other quest requires ridiculously overpowered medals that you simply do not get. Like, for example, for the browser version back then, for the cards that you got for the browser version, you often would get really powerful cards from quests that are open that you could just do, and you didn't need to pay for them. You could pay to get more and make them more powerful, but it would still work if you just played the game free to play. But nowadays they don't give you anything more powerful than a goddamn silver Yuna if you don't pay up. So it feels like it's absolutely impossible to play the game unless you either wait constantly until you got enough jewels, which can take weeks, or you just pay up the market.
I'm surprised they didn't even mention the worst part is the guilt. But are you going to mention that afterwards?
Oh god, the guilt. Yeah, the guild system.
Because it's even worse that when you speak about quests, they are very easy. Well, the normal ones are easy, or you can deal with them, just fine. But then you get to the proud mode quests, and you realize, you can't use any specials of any medals that aren't guilted in proud mode. And how do you guilt one? Well, let me tell you. You have to get about 6 of the exact same medal and, fuse them up. And you get a guilt that is random also. It increases the special power of the medal by any amount between 25% and 100%, which is good. But it's still 6 medals of the same, and they have to be evolved like to the last level, which there is also that the medals have levels, you have to evolve them through. And when you combine all of that, also, you know how many medals you get with a 3,000 jewel pool? Usually you get 10 in total, but only one is level 6, the max.
Yes.
And several of the best ones come only at level 6, so you can only get a most of 1 per pool, which means that if you want something guilted, one of the strongest ones, with a perfect luck, you waste at least 15,000 jewels, which is, I don't know how much it is because I can't pay.
I think that's like $100.
There you go.
Wait, let me actually go. Let me go. 3,000 jewels are like $17. 15,000. A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Let me just say, guilt is still the most appropriately named game mechanic for this.
The most annoying, the most infuriating thing about this wasn't at all how guilting worked in the browser version. In the browser version, guilting was something you did in the beginning of the month. Everybody had a guilt meter, and you had to fill that up so you would get a special damage bonus at the beginning of each battle, or for special skills. And the cool thing about it was you could fill up your own guild meter, sure, but you could also, if you wanted, you could also like take another member of your party in game and fill their guild meter up for them. This way, even really underleveled players could help out overleveled players, and really overleveled players could help even the most underleveled of players to get a massive damage bonus in the beginning of each battle that helped them to level quicker. It was a genius system that actually made you feel like you had to work in a team with your party. It was great.
Like you could contribute no matter what.
Yes.
And hey, I have a trick to fill up your guild meter in the mobile version.
Pay up.
You pay, yes.
God damn.
And what I described is
It's funny
for
because
one medal.
it's funny because you actually do, and you actually do as a joke too. Like,
Of course.
So,
it's funny because money.
the thing is that, so basically, with all of this, with what I've said and what Wendy has said, we too play Kingdom Hearts Unchained, Key Cross Union, Electric Boogaloo the Third. We play the game. But, so with all what we've said, there's one important point. I would have long stopped playing this game. I would have long quit. You know the reason why I don't quit? Because it's Kingdom Hearts. And Kingdom Hearts has been a part of my life since I was a kid. And that's exactly what Square knows. Like, not just with me, but with all of us. They know. We know this brand. We want to know what the story is. We want to have this on our phone. They know they have us tied around their pinky finger. And they are not going to let us go. And that's the next thing I want to discuss. There's some gacha games that don't belong to any other franchise, that are just there and become like a phenomenon all on their own, like more or less. But the ones that you really hear about are the ones that belong to another franchise. Those are Fire Emblem Heroes, Tales of Link, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, I already said Tales of Links. Well, and yes, Kingdom Hearts Unchained, Electric Boogaloo Cross.
Yeah.
There's also who knows how many Fate ones are there.
God, yeah, I'm sure Cousin knows about those. But yeah, like there is this inherent willingness almost to get addicted to these games because you wanna, these games are the ones where you can use practically any character you want because they use these characters as kind of like a bargaining chip. Like here, if you use your imaginary gold to pay for this, then you might unlock your favorite character.
But you need to pay real gold to get imaginary gold first, that there's no take-backsies.
Yep, there you go. That's exactly it. And the way you describe Kingdom Hearts, that you only play because it's Kingdom Hearts, I would not play Fire Emblem Heroes if it wasn't Fire Emblem, I don't think, because I love Fire Emblem and I wanna keep spending my real money for imaginary money so I can have my imaginary characters in imaginary wars.
Your imaginary value.
Yes.
Which is called...
She still has to be in the game,
Yeah.
Still coming.
Honestly...
Scummy.
Yeah, it's... the thing is... the thing is, it's especially not just mean, like, evil with Kingdom Hearts, because they actually put canon-relevant story in this game. And it's real, and it takes ages and a lot of effort to actually get through the story quest. So I will get to that cooldown mechanics. So, if you... Kingdom Hearts already had an issue with you having to own every single system under the sun for a while there in order to be able to actually realize what's going on. This is something I will never defend about the series, no matter how much I love it. Just the fact that it spread itself over everything ever. The only thing it didn't release anything for, I think, was the Vita and the PC. Those were the only things. And
the Wii U.
Oh yeah,
The Wii.
But who cares about that? Instead, they still put stuff on Nintendo consoles. The thing is just, they make, as you said, they are using the brand as a bargaining chip. And like, I remember my sister, I don't know if she still plays it, but my sister is a huge fan of Tales of Systeria for the characters. And I know she played Tales of Link for no other reason than the game kept waving her OTP into her face constantly. Like it knew that she wanted those two, but she never got them. Like she got them, but not right, not the good ones, only the ugly ones that looked like their arms were twisted in all impossible and possible angles. And because
that sounds hilarious. I want that now.
Tales of art.
That's a selling point, actually.
But Tales of artwork. Basically, they made the artwork that actually looks good. They put that on the really expensive characters, and the less expensive ones they just put the derp art on.
Some DeviantArt's first drawing.
And she really, really wanted to have the really fancy Zoe and the really fancy Mikleo, and somehow the game just refused to give her that. Like it knew that the longer they kept her away from it, the longer she would play and get closer to caving in and paying.
I know that feeling.
Yes.
Me too. I still play Fire Emblem Heroes, trying to get to Lynn. That she's been in the game but from day one. I have tried for 6 months. Still didn't get her. Ever. Well,
I'm still holding out. I'm still holding out for Sanaki.
I swear that...
Sanaki, poor guy.
I swear there have to be some algorithms in these games that determine what you're really after, like what you're most likely to try and draw for, and keep that specific thing, hold it back for you. I swear those have to be in there.
I wouldn't dissuade that point, actually.
It feels like it. Or maybe that's just general frustration speaking. The thing is, I've never actually played like a gacha game that doesn't belong to any specific franchise. And I think, Randy, you've played a couple?
Yeah.
So
well, not a couple. I played Ayakashi Ghost Guild, which I don't think has any branding to it. And it's it's still similar. It doesn't use the characters as a bargaining chip as much. It can try to, because the characters there are from Japanese folklore. So if you see something or something that you particularly like, or some oni from a legend, a specific one that you know, maybe you try for it, but that's not the point. The point is just to keep you playing and keep you somewhat engaged. The artwork was phenomenal. I always loved it. It was part of what kept me in. And the story was serviceable. It wasn't that great, but
It's a gacha story.
Yeah, it is a gacha story. That should be a term. So, what it did, though, different from the other gacha that I know, well, actually, there's probably some that do it too, and I don't know. But it had this daily deal that for a very small amount of money, you gain something, significant for the game, and that will help you summon randomly, of course, spirits that might help you, and that'll be stronger. And that's cool. It's daily though, so you have to get it every day if you want to get maximum efficiency. And that's, I think they didn't have the hook for the characters, so they have other tactics to keep you close. But even everything else was kind of mediocre. I still liked it, but even the combat basically meant you have a party of 5 diamonds that can be phantoms, divina, or anima. There is a triangle there, something which gacha games also use for very effectively. Not only gacha games, but still. The combat was basically you have 5. You have 5 demons. You combine their strengths along with their skills, diminishing the enemy strength or increasing their own. And then you see the other party that is doing the same thing, and you see which number is higher. Then you win.
So it's basically a numbers game.
Yeah, you can say that. It's the artwork really was what made it for me, and I think I found it fun, the mascot that they have, Mira, which is the spirit of a mirror, and she kind of talks for you on the story. She's funny.
So that sounds neat. That's one that actually built its own reason for existence, rather than just banking off an existing property.
And you kind of feel like it's kind of an underdog since it doesn't have that huge fan base already built up for it. You kind of.
It's true. That's why it disappeared. It doesn't exist anymore.
The thing is, the daily deal thing that you mentioned. The thing is,
yes.
Kingdom Hearts G does have a daily deal system. But
that sucks.
Yes, the thing is, jewels in Kingdom Hearts G are rarer. If I'm pronouncing this right, I'm not pronouncing it right. Anyway, it's so hard to get jewels. It's damn hard to get jewels because you get a minuscule amount of jewels for every 5 completed story missions. But what do you do when you run out of story missions? Well, then there's some missions that give you jewels, and sometimes when the dev team really screwed up hard, they give you jewels for free, and you get a tiny amount of jewels every day, and that's it.
Funny how every single gacha game in existence screw up and give apology money to you.
Yes, except it's fake.
When I started playing Chi, or this version, the mobile version, I thought it was being generous with the jewels, because 5 story missions isn't that much. You get 150 jewels. You get more for other missions, and they do give at least 100, usually 100 per day that you log in. Which I thought, that's neat. But then I had to remember or realize that the money you have to spend to effectively get anything useful is especially guild, is insane.
Yes.
Compared to Heroes, for example, which Heroes also, Fire Emblem Heroes does give at least 1 orb each day usually, because there's always something going on.
And it's so frustrating because the browser version wasn't like that. And I'll get to this later, but the Japanese version apparently isn't like that either. So I don't know what Square Enix of North America is doing.
Being greedy. It's called being greedy.
What the hell? Yeah, you're absolutely right. And oh, right, the next point on my keywords list. Right, because I said this, the Japanese browser games. The thing is, that's where Chi started out. And it was so great. The game, like in the browser version, it was great. Like they had an overworld system that they scrapped from the phone version for some reason that I don't understand, and you could actually freely explore the worlds, and sometimes it's small things would even change between. It actually felt like a game.
It was so great. It's because it was a completely different game.
Yeah. It was actually a game where you could do things on your own, like you could explore and do things.
There would be like new missions every day, and they wouldn't be gated off behind paywalls.
Yeah.
I mean, there was another Japanese browser game that I heard about, Madoka Online. I never played that one, but I heard it was very similar and also very fun.
It was pretty fun. I liked it. It's been a while though, so I can't say much positive about it. But they always had the events of stuff going on and very good cards being handed out. And I don't think they were as generous as some of the. I mean, I'm always going to come back to Fire Emblem Heroes because I actually love that game, despite everything. But it's still very good. And the story. I couldn't understand everything, but I did look up some of the chapters, and it felt good to play in general. It was still cards based, so it wasn't very eventful or anything, but I had fun with it. It still had the same problems that all gacha games seem to have, though.
The thing is why I brought these up is because that was my experience with playing one of these games in Japanese. And as I said earlier, it actually works in free-to-play. For some reason, those work in free-to-play, and you don't actually need to be a whale to get anything out of them. So, some friends in our party, in our Kingdom Hearts Chi party, like the one on the phone game now, I am not in contact with my old party from the browser game anymore because they're all Japanese and I forgot to stay in contact and I'm terrible. Anyway, some folks from our party found out that the Japanese version of Kingdom Hearts and Union Cross, as it is called now, I will use the actual name, apparently can be played free to play, which has a lot less paywalled features. It has much cheaper prices for a lot of things that are behind paywalls, and it gives you a lot more jewels. And apparently the missions are less hard as well, so you don't actually need all those OP medals all the time. So that made me wonder, wait, why do the Japanese people get well off? But the game was easy on the browser, and it was fun on the browser, and it was still okay on the phone. Why did they bring it over as such a cash grab into the international versions? And today, as I said, I was doing some research, and I learned something. Apparently, in Japan, there has already been a whole kind of gacha games, like a whole section of a lot of these social phone games that has been declared illegal due to the gambling laws. Basically, there was this model called Complete Gacha, which consisted of basically you had small prizes, and if you got a certain set of small prizes gathered, those would transform into a bigger prize, and once you've got a certain set of bigger prizes, they would become an even bigger prize, and like that and like that. And apparently the Japanese government actually figured that this was so similar to actual gambling that they banned every single game that used this mechanic. So what I figure is that in Japan, Square actually is afraid of falling into gambling regulations with this game if they do it as badly as they do it in the international version, which is honestly something to mull over, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like they're kinda afraid of getting too close to being seen as actual gambling.
And the thing is that what they don't realize is that we are already this close to this in the West as well, because you already have people like Jim Sterling or what's his face, Young already discussing the possibility of gambling regulations coming after video games because of this. But nobody is careful here. They all just want to keep doing this. And it's honestly kind of scary. I don't want to be labeled as a gambler one day just because some stupid companies made video games into a gambling thing.
Well, the thing is, to change it, it's gonna take something more than specific people talking about it, because who knows Jim Sterling outside of those connected to game media in some way, and it needs more social awareness or a precedent in law, and that's hard to come by because no one wants to be the guinea pig, of course.
And I think in the West it's also still kind of a Wild West situation where Japan has been doing like gambling in that sense for a long time. Like they've it's much more widespread as a culture over there, I think, than it is in the West, especially in the video game sense. Like I don't really know that much for sure, but it feels like they are a lot more careful with gambling in Japan now because they've had such a precedent over there already.
Well, it is still a big problem over there. I mean, I'm just gonna say pachinko.
Oh yeah.
But what I figure is that we're not actually that far away from having video games regulated because of this either. Because
I agree.
And it's scary. It's honestly scary. And I don't want this to become like the norm, because I'm glad that the complete gacha system was banned, because that sounds honestly scummy. But on the other hand, what Kingdom Hearts Chi is doing in the West is pretty scummy too. And I'm glad that there's like other gacha games that are a lot better about this. But on the other hand, we also have Western games who do stuff like making shaders one-time items that you need to pay for.
Gross.
Yes. And I mean, at least that's a cosmetic item, but games where it actually becomes a paywall, that's just something I do not understand.
All of them try to soften the blow too, so you don't feel it that much. For example, in Kingdom Hearts, the Unchained, Union Cross anyway. I have to learn to use the name too. When you're polling for a specific medal, for example, they advertise that you can get it within this many polls, because they have a counter of how many times you do it, and that your chances increase in between. Fire Emblem does something too. If you are polling for units and you want a 5-star unit, which is the highest, you have just a 3% chance. But if you keep polling non-5-star units, the chance actually increases for every poll you do thereafter, until you actually poll it once, and then it resets. So it artificially makes it seem like you got lucky once, just so you don't stop. And this is something that I hear that slot machines do too, which is the problem here. It is encouraged gambling, but they still do it. They try to soften the blow, as I say, but they're also encouraging this behavior.
They do, but I think the difference is they give you kind of a lot of orbs because you get at least once a day, as you said, and there are plenty of ways to gather orbs to summon for units, but so it's more like And also, the paying for orbs is fucking expensive, so don't do it.
Yeah,
You know something that I was saying, I think I started saying it and I stopped, I don't remember why. But compared to others, I think Fire Emblem Heroes does well because you summon for 5 orbs, and as I say, you get at least one every day, and if you do stuff, you actually get way more. Like you can get 15 from completing the special maps that they put recently.
Yeah, and 15. Incidentally, 15 is the amount you need to do a full summoning session, which probably was intentional.
the thing is,
Yeah, and
sorry. No, what I wanted to say is what it comes down to is a game should never make you feel regret that you've played it. And that's the difference between doing like microtransactions right and doing them wrong. Because if you do them in a way where you don't end up regretting spending money, it's okay. But if you manipulate people, they will still like end up looking at their wallets at some point and realize, shit, I spent so much money on a stupid game, and then you regret that. Like, unless you have some kind of gambling addiction, which is a completely different can of worms. Which is a very terrible can of worms. But that's the problem with, like, you hear everybody talking about microtransactions.
Yeah.
And, like, Jim Sterling has coined the term fee to play, which is like a game
Fee to pay, yeah.
Yeah, fee to pay, yeah. So, I screwed it up, sorry. Yeah, I'm the one who brings up the term, but I'm also the one who screws it up. Anyway, he said basically those are games that pretend to be free to play, but in reality you just don't get anywhere unless you become a freaking whale. And that's pretty much what Kingdom Hearts Chi has amounted to at this point. And I know I keep coming back to this game, but this is the one that really annoys me, because it seems all the other gacha games at least make an effort to make you enjoy it. Unironically.
The others can do it very well. And I myself keep coming back to Fire Emblem Heroes, but because I actually like it. And this is a good example of one that doesn't make me regret even most of the summoning sessions, because even if you don't get the characters you want, all of the characters can in some way contribute to increasing the power of a character you actually like.
So even if you don't get what you want, you can still get it's still useful in some way.
You can use their skills, you can use their weapons, you can craft your very own. You can make pretty much any character become a killing machine in that, or just be a great unit. I'm trying anyway.
Sorry. You know what's especially insulting? I'm sorry for interrupting you. But you know what's especially insulting?
Go on.
As of late, Kingdom Hearts Chi has been advertising another phone game, which is Line Tsum Tsum, which is basically, it's a game based on like box-shaped plushies that you can stack on each other. That's why they're called tsum. It's from the Japanese word for to stack. And basically it's kind of like a puzzle game where you have to touch rows of 4 same plushies so they disappear. I don't know why you would destroy adorable plushies, but there you go. Anyway, this one is also a gacha game. And I took a look at it, just out of curiosity. It's really sad when the gacha game you're advertising is less scummy about microtransactions than the one you're advertising in.
I'm just appalled that it's a game. I thought someone in Square headquarters had a Yukuri fetish or something.
No.
But this is interesting.
What now?
You don't want to know. Continue.
Yukuri. Oh yeah, I don't like the way Tsums look. But it's a cute puzzle game, and it isn't asking me to drop money at it at every given opportunity.
Probably because it doesn't have a massive fan base already.
Yeah, well, it does. It's a very popular brand of Disney plushies. They have all of Disney behind them.
Well, that's something, I guess.
And I guess it's sad when Disney is less scummy than you.
That is an achievement.
But the thing is, as I said, it's not that bad in the Japanese version, so there's something wrong in the state of Square Enix of North America.
Yeah. At this point, I think it's just video game publishers really trying to push the envelope and see how much they can get away with. Like,
maybe they should.
That's why they have loot boxes in $60 games now,
exactly.
And they're just trying to see. Just because it's becoming more normalized having these gambling systems in every game that's out there, because they want people to basically give them money and then give them more money and then give them more money.
That's the thing, like, I wanted to, that's actually the last key point that I have, like, the last key word I have listed on my list here. My words today are amazing. I have the best words, the most amazing words. Anyway, the loot boxes thing. So, am I the only one who's not actually annoyed by the loot boxes in Overwatch? Because they are all purely cosmetic, and I feel like I'm getting a lot of them, but then again I'm underleveled. So maybe that's why I'm not annoyed by them?
No, I mean, I accept that they exist in Overwatch because I think they don't deliberately toss it in your face that you should buy them all the time, and the problem is when they start doing events, they pay
up or you don't get the amazing witch skin for Mercy, which makes her treat all her friends like slaves.
Yeah, like
stuff like that.
During events, the event exclusive cosmetic stuff costs more imaginary money than the regular skins. And that gives you an incentive to buy boxes because you don't want to miss out on the exclusive stuff. And that's the only problem I have with the loot boxes, that they, kinda say under the table that, hey, this skin makes you look special. And then you're like, wow, that's my favorite character's skin. I need to buy boxes now.
I really need Torbjörn as Santa Claus. Oh, my life is incomplete.
Don't worry, you'll get a chance. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, I will fully admit that I've bought boxes in pretty much every single event because I'm a slave.
And I fully admit that I've caved into Kingdom Hearts G's money mongering mechanics, and I've bought jewels a few times. Bought.
How dare you do that? I'm kidding.
Actually, about the jewels, that's another thing we should bring up. The virtual currencies used in these games. Like, Overwatch uses currency to some extent, but I feel it's okay. It's not that bad, because at least you can actually get something from the amount you get out of the loot boxes that you naturally get. Mm-hmm. But this is something that was already in the browser version of Kingdom Hearts G, and it was very terrible there already, and somehow the game made it even worse. Multiple currencies, only one of which is actually worth anything.
Top game design.
Like, you do missions and you feel, and it tells you you've earned money and you feel cool because, yes, I've earned money, I'm cool. But then you realize, no, that's not the money you actually need to buy stuff. That's just the money you need to synthesize this kind of stuff, and you don't need that much of it, but you constantly get some of it. So it's basically only a placebo, because it's not actually relevant, because you will always have enough of that. So you don't actually need it. So it's just to make you feel like you've earned something, even though you haven't actually earned anything. Then there's the other.
Wow, congratulations! You described the Skinner box effect.
Then there's the middle tier of currency, where you can buy some stuff with, but not the really good stuff. You need like the cool ticket stuff for that, but you can get like some really cosmetic stuff with the middle tier currency. So I guess that's pretty cool. At least you get some cool hats out of it. And then there's like the actual currency, for which is almost impossible to get unless you pay it with real money. In which case, God may have mercy on your soul, because you will soon not own a wallet anymore.
What's a wallet?
It's
I kind of want to go back to the Overwatch currency, because you said it's okay. I say it's garbage. It's complete garbage, but not so much. But the amount that you need to buy anything significant is kind of that you get naturally. It's kind of paltry. It's even worse now, though. I think it got better. The system got better in general when they decreased duplicates. You still that also means you get pretty much no currency unless you get the currency in the look.
No, you do. They specifically tailored it so that you will get about as much currency as you would get anyway from the duplicate stuff.
Huh.
Also, they're integrating that in the system. It still feels less though, because I definitely have way less currency than I used to accumulate before, even if.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it's actually worked.
I'm
but
just glad they reduced duplicates.
They did say that they would try to make it so you have about as much. You get about as much cash as you would anyway.
That's cool. But I mean, coming back on topic to the loot boxes, the thing I have against them is that they feel inherently unrewarding, because when you get them, yeah, it's random. You can get something very good or something very bad. It usually means you can get things for characters you don't often use. And though I understand that Overwatch is a flex game where you're supposed to be able to be flexible and it's good to have things for everyone, I think it would feel way more rewarding if the rewards would be unlocked by things you do with the characters or within quick play or competitive. And
yeah,
it wouldn't be. It could be random still within their realm, their items, because there's a lot for each character. But the way it is, just feel like for random things, and
it feels like you're just grinding for carrots.
Yeah,
something.
but the thing
that's
is,
the only thing I'm against it,
I can't get mad at it because the game is still the same amount of fun if I don't have any skins. Like, for example, in fact, with Diva, I don't even want to put any skins on her because I like her default design so much. But
yeah, I mean,
but I think it inherently affects how other people enjoy the game too. And I don't think that can be disregarded just because the mechanics don't change.
That is true.
In that sense, I'm kind of with Jim Sterling, because he's a bit more extremist in that sense, because he absolutely hates it.
Yeah, he does.
I don't hate it as much because, he says that, oh my god, Blizzard's a multi-billion company, they can afford not having microtransactions and yada yada, but as soon as Overwatch stops making profit, they're gonna close the game because it's not making profit.
That's the thing, yeah. I mean, that is the thing about it. The video game industry needs to make profits these days. And I understand that that's become difficult because people don't have as much money to spare, but games are very expensive to make, and they don't, like media in general, don't that easily throw off a profit. You need to take side avenues to make it happen. And you can't just make a free game and expect it to throw a profit if you don't actually have anything in it that people need to pay for, unless your people all give you donations. I don't even know. But on the other hand,
especially games that continuously get updates and that run online on servers and everything, like they
we shouldn't be we gamers shouldn't be entitled as hell and expect we should have everything for free with no compensation because we deserve it. That's not it. But on the other hand, manipulating people into paying more than they would have needed to pay for a free game is just really. It puts video games into a light that I don't want to see it in. It puts them exactly into the Square stereotype that people have been trying to bestow upon us gamers ever since our hobby has existed. That video games are stupid and make you stupid, and you're a sucker for enjoying them, and they just melt your brain away.
And are addicting.
Yeah, and are addicting, that exactly. And Especially, that is another point, like, what I still wanted to say, especially when you have fake currencies. Because what fake currencies do is they make you think that something is very cheap and you should get the bargaining deal. But the thing is, you can never trade this. You feel like you still own money if you have this fake currency. But you don't. It's just credits that are gone. And you're never actually getting anything out of them again. And you have this fake money just lying on your account until the game eventually gets shut down. And that's the thing, all these games, almost all of them, but the huge percentage of them will eventually get shut down. And that was something I really felt when the browser version of Kingdom Hearts G was shut down. Suddenly, it didn't matter anymore that Luna, who was the leader of my party, had spent like so much money every month on the premium boxes that you got in the offer that you got in the beginning of every month to get these really cool outfits and really cool cards. It didn't matter how much money she'd spent on that. The game was just gone. It just evaporated out into nothingness.
That is sad.
Yeah. I mean, and that doesn't necessarily take away the investment you had in the game, because what you're spending money on is the feeling that you had a good time on it.
Yeah,
and,
but they make you feel like you're actually paying for actual possessions. But that's not true.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
that's
absolutely
true to any game, really. Nothing lasts forever, but then again, I feel the same way as you, if just because they had a good game there and they didn't transfer it immediately as is to mobile. They did it completely differently and only got some small compensation for people that actually made the transit. And that's, I don't like it.
I'm so worried about where this gacha trend is leading the industry with the loot boxes and the microtransactions and everything. Because yes, I want gaming to be profitable, but I don't want it to be a service. Because streaming is a different thing. Because movies, you never put any personal investment in, like, it's not interactive, you're not doing your own thing with it. But games are something that you're doing your own thing with it, and if somebody can just take that away at one point, your save file is gone, and it doesn't matter if you stream the game again. It will forever be gone, it's just not yours.
I think gacha has a place in the game industry. It's just people need to really be vocal about when it's being exploitative, like certain game called Shadow of War, where you open up loot boxes to help your single player experience, and you can pay to basically make the gameplay itself for you, and it's the worst kind of garbage I've ever seen in my life.
And pay for shaders!
That sounds crazy.
That's where when we as consumers have to basically set their foot down and say, don't treat us as milking cows for your wallets, okay?
Yeah. In the last video we did, I said that I made a joke about a Persona gacha game, and the truth is that I actually like to see that. If it was well executed, I would really like to see it. Like if it were more like Fire Emblem Heroes and less like Kingdom Hearts G. So
I could see it work. Yeah. I could see it work, but at the same time, my heart can only take being crushed once by one game.
But I still think it would be cute. But the thing is,
I wouldn't mind seeing it.
First of all, gacha belongs in certain games, and we don't need it in single-player games. We don't need it in single-player RPGs. We don't need it in story-driven games. Kingdom Hearts G. We don't need it it's its own kind of experience, and we don't need this taking over the games that never needed it. And I understand it's getting harder to make a good game. It's getting harder to get the funding and be up to date with all your technology and everything. But I think there has to be another way. We can't just let this become all that gaming is. And
There was sorry.
you can do a good gacha game, in my opinion. You can do it, make it really fun, make it so I feel like, yes, I want to pay for that. Like the old browser Kingdom Hearts Chi, I would have, if I could have, I would have spent some money on the dev team in a heartbeat, because it was also a very, very well maintained game, unlike the mobile version. I would have done this because I thought this was a good game. But I don't want this to be all that gaming is, just paying to use the service. And being addicted to paying to use the service.
Yeah. It's funny, they just want to have you addicted so you'll pay more so you can stay addicted. It's kinda despicable. But I think when you mention another way for the game market to stay profitable, there was this game, I don't remember what it's called, but there was a game by, I think it was Ninja Theory who made it. They made this game that was kind of low budget, like medium budget. They didn't blow it up to hell and back, and they sold it at a cheaper price, and it became reasonably successful, I think. And I think what the game industry needs to do is stop just inflating their video games into the billions of dollars. Like, they need to shrink it down, make smaller games. Don't just blow it out of proportion so you can never make a profit out of it.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
And
I think we are too focused on having the top technology in video games, and we're doing it too fast.
And for the companies that can afford that, then absolutely go for the AAA super budgets, ultra behemoth games. But it doesn't, like, that's not where all the competition is to be, because it's just not gonna last. It's just a bubble.
Honestly, I find these days I often find games that are not as expensive and have like lower end graphics, but are made with a lot of love, a lot more enjoyable than the big AAA titles where you can see every single pore on the faces of the character models.
And not only that, those games are the ones that will grab for your wallet, that ask you to pay more for every single cosmetic item that's in the game. Like, you kind of become desensitized to these things. Like, you just see it and you're like, it's almost expected, and it's just disheartening. Where you have to be so cynical that you expect games to beg for more money from you. That's why the lower budget titles are more enjoyable, because they don't do that. They just ask you to pay one price. You can have the whole game. It's refreshing.
And I mean, it can work. Like, it can work being an indie developer. It can work having crowdfunding. I mean, we had so many great crowdfunded games lately, even taking into account the terrible ones. There were so many good crowdfunded games, and there were so many great indie titles. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Indie titles. It was always my opinion that we're going too fast with the game industry, because just because computers can do that, it doesn't mean we should use this already, because I don't think technology is ever perfected before quite a while after it's first come out. And I think we should give the game industry time to actually let things, germinate. Like, good wine takes time. You can't just drag out the grape juice at the first moment that it smells like wine. It's not how it works.
And for the business people out there, I probably sound like an uneducated fool who does not understand the ways to run a company, and no, I absolutely don't. But it makes sense to me that instead of asking for multi-billion profits every single year, maybe you should focus on not losing money and instead focus on the smaller profits, like stabilize the profit you have instead of trying to multiply it ad infinitum, because it's not going to happen.
I honestly don't think you need $2 billion to make a good game. I don't think you need that much money to make a good game. You can make a good game without everything looking like you could step right in.
Yeah. Toby Fox would agree.
But it is going into general game territory, not specific to the game.
I know.
But
Yeah,
I think we're
yeah.
about done actually. Is there anything
Yeah,
else
yes,
you guys
one
would?
sec.
Is there anything else you guys would want to add?
No, yeah, I just wanted to finish with this because it felt like appropriate to where the
Yeah. It is.
the exploitation of gacha because it's
It is. And so
no, I'm good.
bottom line, we don't want games. We like you. We want you to make money, but focus on what's important, and that's being good games, not being pompous, expensive games, not being the most realistic simulation of life that ever existed, and not on just getting us so addicted that we can't stop. We don't want games
Yeah.
to become a gacha machine, and we don't need them to look like they were rendered on the most amazing engine that has ever existed. We
Yeah.
just want good games, and we want the companies
But,
that make them to survive without having to exploit us.
Yeah, just don't be a dick about wanting money, okay?
Please.
Don't gamble, kids. That's what Sonic says.